Hi, this is Penny Haynes bringing you this week's edition of Brainstorm Business Podcast, sponsored by Commercial Creation Center, software that lets anybody, PC users, create audio, video, and images and upload them to social media and social networking sites. Very simple software. So, here is Zipcar. The idea behind Zipcar was you have cars that people can rent for just an hour or a couple of hours. They can do it for a day as well. And the idea behind this was also to promote greenness. If there are fewer people owning cars and running cars all the time and instead sharing cars, it would be better for the environment. So here is Robin Chase, the person who came up with the idea for Zipcar. It was losing money. They had lots of renters, but they still weren't making ends meet. And so she had a board, and 4 of those are outside investors. And they suggested that she basically step down and they bring somebody else in order to take it to the next level. Which is, by the way, one of the reasons why the idea of getting investors in on the Commercial Creation Center scares the poo-poo out of me, because I don't want to be kicked out of my own company and it becomes something else other than what I wanted it to be. Okay, just in case you wondered what keeps me up at night. Next up, Griffith Steps in. This is a guy who'd had 2 other companies he'd gone in. One succeeded, one failed. So he had a 50-50 chance of actually making this thing work. So Griffith increased revenues from $2 million to $100 million, purchased their largest rival called Flexcar. It says he's raised $35 million in venture capital, has a growing international presence, and he used a 7-point strategy to get there. And that's what we're going to look at. Number 1, break it down to build it up. And this I can really understand, because in order to find out what the problems were, he had to break the company down into small bits. Just this week, my technical advisor, Yoda, helped me figure out what some of the problems were with the Commercial Creation Center programmatically. So what did we have to do? We had to find out where the code was that things were bugging down on, and then we had to figure out what it was that was causing it. Well, through process of elimination, we started taking stuff off of a form, and sure enough found that one of our components was causing all of the problems. Yay, it wasn't my coding. Yuck, because that means somebody else is in control of fixing this situation. So taking it down, breaking it down, and then fixing the small bits is really the best way to start while you are trying to improve your business. So he grabbed focus groups. He wanted to know how they perceived the company. And there were 2 issues involved. Number 1, people thought, well, a car won't be available when I want it, or maybe it's too many blocks away for me to go get it. So what was his solution? Well, he decided to change everything and rezone neighborhoods. And he started just doing one zone at a time instead of trying to blanket the entire area. He also created stuff called pods of zip cars. So these were clusters within a parking garage. And that way, if one car wasn't available, another one would. So notice he, stopped expansion. I don't know if I mentioned that in the beginning. And then started working one area of a neighborhood at a time to make sure that worked. Then he started expanding. He also added a fleet crew to each zone of bicycle riding guys who would go out to handle the different problems. Another thing that they did is they actually changed the type of cars to fit the neighborhood that they were in. So therefore, if they were in a ritzier neighborhood, the people would want ritzier cars. And later on in the article, it talks about how they used to put a logo on the side of all the cars, but if somebody's renting a car to impress somebody at work, they don't want them to know they're renting the car. So he took that off. Even though it meant not marketing the company, it met the need of the purchaser or the client. So he moved in one particular neighborhood, he made sure it worked, he blanketed the place with advertising, and then once he saw that this hyper-local marketing was working and that zip cars were around and were going to be thought about like the local coffee shop or the dry cleaner, once that worked, then he was going to be able to replicate that into other areas. To hear the rest of the 7 steps used by Zipcar in order to take their business from $2 million to $100 million, I invite you to listen to the rest of the podcast for free at brainstormbusinesspodcast.com. Or you can subscribe to the RSS feed at feeds.feedburner.com/brainstormbusinesspodcast. Thanks so much for watching and listening to this excerpt from the Brainstorm Business Podcast, sponsored by the Commercial Creation Center.